Welcome to Beltaloda, the officially unofficial podcast for the Expanse on Amazon Prime. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Season 6, Episode 3, titled Force Projection. Aaron, what do you think about this halfway mark for Season 6?
This is a great halfway mark. Man, what a space battle. What a shit Marco is. And Prax with the savior of the solar system?
Like, maybe, yeah.
Just Amos's best friend in the whole world coming in clutch to save the belt and Earth. All
He's just a good guy, Aaron. He's just a good guy.
He's just a good guy. No, I thought everything came together and this was a great episode. It was like pulse pounding. The music is great. I was like on the edge of my seat during that battle sequence.
Yeah. Not
because I was like particularly afraid that Holden and company were going to die, but it's just kind of like, how are they going to get out like this? Marco's right. Like the Rossi's not fucking invincible, man. It's gonna, you shoot 5 times the missiles it can shoot down. It's gonna go. Like, how are they going to do this? And I was kind of delighted by like how they're able to continue to innovate plausibly with the battle mechanics we already know.
Yeah.
And this is Kirk taking advantage of Khan's inexperience with space combat and thinking three-dimensionally. It's him knowing about the shield codes and Khan not. Like, it's that kind of like experience over naivete and enthusiasm. And I thought it was great. It's one of the, I mean, they keep upping the stakes in terms of space battles, not in the way I would think. Like we were talking in the preseason about like big involved fleet on fleet set pieces. I'm thinking, man, retaking a series is going to be hot. It was nothing, but
literally nothing. Yeah.
This was great. What'd you think?
Yeah, I agree. I remember them describing this scene in the book and I thought, man, that sounds cool. It's such an interesting, I don't know. I mean, it's like you think, okay, you got targeting computers and they're going to be so much more efficient, so much better than any human could be. But then you kind of have to take control from the machine to get it to do something it's not designed to do, which is anticipates the movements of other humans. And I really liked that. I thought it was cool. And then to see it visually, see the Rossi's flipping around, just taking it. This is the equivalent of a quick draw, right? Like in Western terms.
We have the perfect terminology for today. This is a 180 no scope headshot that's being performed, right? And in like a first person shooter game.
Yeah, that's the perfect analogy. And it's just so cool to see because I thought it was cool in the book to see it on screen with the Rossi flipping and the engines cutting out and then kicking back in once they flip again and Bobby taking the weapons. Yeah, it was so cool. So cool.
It also builds on a lot of knowledge, like the book knowledge. For example, like I was reading book 5 and, when Alex and Bobby are fleeing, I think it's the pellets, some of Marco's ships and they're able to keep pace, but like as an exhaustion tactic to chasing ships send like streams of PDC fire at them to make them dodge just so they can't ever relax. You know, it's not a serious threat, but it's like, if Alex were to get up and to use the bathroom, you get a hail of tungsten rounds come ripping through and you're done. So like the idea that like, yeah, this shit is not like video game rounds. This stuff just keeps moving and they're physical objects and you can trick someone into dodging into it. It's just a great concept. And like, I thought the 180 no scopes are already pretty fucking rad, just the way they were conceptualized and all that. And then when Bobby got it, because I was like, what the hell is she doing? And it kind of all came together. It's great. It's great. I love how they keep one-upping themselves in ways I don't even see coming.
And that scene is like a 1-2 punch of, wow, that was really awesome. But then what the hell are you doing? Because it also features one of the few disagreements I've had with Holden in a very long time. I fundamentally disagree with his decision here at the end of this episode to disable the warhead. I don't know. I think I know what he's thinking, but to me, it doesn't add up. It doesn't justify that action.
Yeah, do we want to talk about that now or during the in place and because you're right, that was such a moment of awesome and I was but then it's like, well shit, the season ends right here, boys and girls. Like this is done. Like this is Tom Cruise blowing up Hitler in the bunker.
Yeah.
And then Holden just didn't do it. And yeah. Do you want to talk about it now or later, I guess?
Let's talk about it later. It's a little teaser, I guess, for what's coming up.
Tease the conversation. Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's do that.
Oh man, I was pulling my hair out on that one.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I hope there's something that makes sense. Although, I mean, I guess I'm not gonna be mad if Holden just does something stupid to. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Like if he did this to protect Naomi, that's going to be hard to swallow. We'll talk about grade A Holden horse shit right there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. All right, here we go. Talking force projection. On the Laconia colony, we have the further adventures of Kara, the completely unsupervised child playing on an alien world that's absolutely going to end in heartache, right? Like
it does, just not in the way you expect. Sure.
And so this is something that you're completely ignorant of as a book reader because you haven't read this short story. But it's starting to round into a particularly horrifying shape.
Pet cemetery shape. A dead cat / brother shape.
Except you take your dead loved one to a colony of weird blue frogs that have permanent dick sucking face, and you leave them there, and they come back. Now, so. I had a question here because the little girl, she runs back, she finds her drone and it's fixed, but it's fixed with shiny blue kind of protomolecule parts. And then she sees her sky dragon, whatever the hell these things, sunbirds, whatever they're calling them, and it's hopping around, and she's like, "Oh, it's fixed." And they home in with like a menacing, and I wasn't sure if it's menacing just because it's something dead that was resurrected, or if there's something uniquely horrifying about the thing's new face, because I noticed it has like one of those round sucker faces the way the blue frogs do, and I'm like, is it like repurposing its DNA? Is it slowly transforming into something? Or I couldn't quite. Do you have any thoughts on that? Did you see anything in there?
There's a lot of questions I have. I'm trying to determine if this is something inherent to Laconia or if this is like an experiment that the humans are doing there, because there's a scene right before this where she's in class and the teacher says something about like, tell us if you see anything strange or anything different about the world here, which to me says maybe they're doing some experiments and they expect things to change.
There was, especially in the last few weeks, like what have they got up to in the last few weeks that has kind of reminds me of like when Holden came to Illis, right? Like Illis was just a planet, with some ancient ruins. Miller shows up and then the planet fucking comes alive and starts trying to kill everybody.
That might be what they're doing. Are they trying to bring this planet back to life somehow? Like some facilities they found, or
we know they have active protomolecule, which seems to be the thing that can do it. And this protomolecule sample, is it from, I'm trying to think of the chain of custody of this. God, and I just watched this whole fucking season. The protomolecule they stole from Fred Johnson's office, did that come from Eros, or did that come from like the original that
was Naomi's
protogen station
sample, right? The one she shot out to the one she hid and they recovered.
And I think they got that from, so I don't think this, because I'm looking for a way for like Miller maybe to return and be active in the thing. And I don't think that's possible unless the sample came from Eros. And I don't think it did. So that's off the table. But like, weird things happening. It seems like they're anticipating it for sure.
Yeah. The other thing I was wondering if there is an equal and opposite sort of reaction here, because remember when she fed that bird, that thing, and it died because of it?
Yeah.
Well, there seemed to be like a weird yin and yang sort of thing there happening, to me anyway. And then it strikes me as a coincidence that as soon as the other thing comes back to life, her brother is potentially fatally injured. I don't know his status, but he looks pretty bad.
Oh shit, is this some kind of Full Metal Alchemist life has to pay for life kind of thing you're suggesting? Or
sure, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Huh. That's,
I don't know if that's, that's
it
actually
does
what's
seem
happening.
like they're going Pet Cemetery Monkey's Paw kind of, body horror type. And again, like, but why? Is just
I
to
don't
tingle
know.
our spines, or is it to show maybe is there going to be some fatal flaw in, because the other thing about this episode is they unveiled what I think is a proto-molecule enhanced new starship design from Laconia.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
And I wonder if there's some fatal flaw that is going to be demonstrated through Kara's story here.
There
and
could
we'll
be
understand.
just life finds a way, chaos theory sort of thing, right? Like, oh, we fucked with something we didn't fully understand, and it's coming back to bite us. Because I expect this kid, this Kara's younger brother, to be taken to the pet cemetery and resurrected next episode, and kind of distorted and changed, right? Like a little bit like the hybrid protomolecule children were.
Yes. Yeah. He's gonna have blue face or something. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Anything else to talk about on the Laconia? We got a little bit better look at this protomolecule installation, the starship. It looked to me like they're building a new ring gate around it. Like it looks like a ring gate under construction with spider webs. Like it looks literally like Spider-Man spider webs attaching it to the main ship, or maybe that's some kind of protomolecule scaffolding. And the ship itself looks like someone dug up a tree root. And painted a gunmetal gray. It's a very weird, twisted, organic shape.
Yeah, I kind of like that it looks so different from human spaceship architecture, right? It tells you that it's protomolecule, and it implies that like the protomolecule is the thing building this ship, not the humans.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary to me anyway. I would be scared to be aboard a ship like that, but yeah, it's wild.
And how do they go from there to like what I think is you're supposed to understand is protomolecule enhanced construction of the ship that they're given the Belters? Like what is, like that's the prime construction. Like how do you get from that to this sleek, kind of plain looking protomolecule cruiser? I guess I'm gonna start calling it. Okay, well, we're done with Laconia for this week. Tune in next week for the next thrilling installment of Kara fucks around unsupervised on this dangerous alien world.
Did it make you feel any better about having this time in a short season spent on that?
Oh, I mean, it makes me feel like there's something exciting going on.
Okay.
Like, in much the first way, the first season was all about like this really interesting politics stuff, and then like, what the fuck is this protomolecule like monster ever? It felt like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. Like, just everyone, oh, they're still there, and that turned into like what the Expanse was actually about, right? And I'm wondering how this is going to tell us what the Expanse will be about in books 7 through 9. If they ever can, decide to continue the series so I guess that's, but I still, unless it has something to do with here, like I said, except exposing a fatal flaw, like this is somehow telling us about the weakness, the Death Star's weakness, its thermal exhaust port that we're going to understand in episode 5 and 6 is going to turn the tide. It seems weird to spend even interesting and impactful 5 minutes to set up a story that it doesn't seem you're interested in telling. With these characters, with this cast, with this crew.
Yeah.
It is. It's still weird.
Okay. I agree.
We go to the Sol system to see the Inners strike back as a joint strike fleet of Earth, Luna, and Mars comes racing in to retake Ceres Station with shockingly little resistance.
Is this the whole Avasarala scene as well, or are we just talking about?
You can go. I broke that out separate, but we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, they paint a picture here throughout this whole episode, really, of Marco playing fast and loose with the lives of the Belters, and this is kind of where it starts. And I really liked this in the book, and I really like it here. In fact, I like it here a little bit more because when Avasarala sees that Ceres Station has actually been stripped and abandoned, and there's nothing of value there except for its people, which are now a burden on the Inners instead of Marco, and a PR nightmare if they don't help them out, right? That she then explains to everyone who's watching the show and everyone in the room, because they're not as smart as she is, exactly what the situation is, exactly why he did it, exactly why this is a problem for them now, because if they don't help these people, it's just another atrocity committed by the UN. It'll turn more Belters against them. They have to help these people now, and it's going to be a huge drain on their resources. I really love that Avasarala is the one explaining this, because in the book, Marco explains this to his fellow Belt leaders. Here, Avasarala explaining it tells you, like, look, I implicitly trust Avasarala's judgment. When she says something, I take it as gospel. When Marco says something, I'm always looking at it with the side of my eye going, is he lying to me? Is he lying to everyone around him? Is he lying to himself? And so him explaining it is not as powerful as Avasarala explaining it. So I really like that change.
And also, I imagine it coming from the books, you're like, God, what are the Belters thinking when he's saying, oh, yes, we're going to abandon the people because their suffering will be bad for the, like, holy hell, that's some next level revolutionary realpolitik.
Oh, for sure. For sure it is. And it makes you respect Marco's tactical leadership a little bit more, I think, when he does this.
Yeah.
But it is a sacrifice, right? This is a trade-off, as Philip later points out, or has already pointed out in previous episodes as well. This is a trade. You are trading a tactical advantage for morale here, or the other way around. You're trading the morale of your citizens for a tactical advantage. And it better be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough, though, because it seems like this station, not only was he ignoring like what the future was going to bring, but he always planned on like sucking and taking until he couldn't anymore, and then just abandoning it. And I get it, like it's a little scorched earth, that tactic too, because like not only is Avasarala going to have to either let millions of people die on her watch, or continue, but like it seemed like they needed this. This is like, if the Marines took one of the Pacific Islands and the invasion of Imperial Japan, and like Japan had like literally scraped everything off the island. There was nothing there. There was no, and it's even a more extreme situation because it's just space where you have to bring in everything, but like there's nothing there. They were counting on, hey, there's going to be working repair docks. There's going to be probably food and fuel and munitions. And like we can use this as a staging port. Now, not only can you not do that, so you can't further prosecute the war, but you have to stop here and invest significant resources. Yeah, just like you said. And you can hear, I love how they do the news reports, because throughout the episode, you'll see like, like an opinion piece show where there's two people debating on, hey, we need to help the Belters, we can't let them starve, versus fuck the Belters, they just killed millions and millions of us and maybe the entire planet. We've got fish to, like, that's how and I'm curious, because like I've lived through a couple of these things where it's like, are people going to do the right thing? Are people going to let people like fucking twist in the wind and die? And usually the latter happens. I'm very curious to see like what it looks like when a great power does the right hard thing, and what will that impact be on the people of the belt? Like, will it be appreciated? Will they see Marco as an empty suit? Will they lose faith in him? At the same time, you've got people like Drummer solidifying control among people who are disaffected and angry at Marco. And this is before the other shit started to go down. So it feels like this is a real turning point, and Marco doesn't even know it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was going to be my question. Do you think this is long-term a smart tactic on Marco's part? Because I think in the short term, it is, right? Like he says, there's no way they could have held Ceres against the Inners. Their military might is too much, especially when you hear the report about how much they've built in the last 6 months.
The only way it works long term, I think, is if this thing coming from the Laconia is a game changer and allows him to fight the Inner's fleet at 10-1 odds or something, and he has a couple of these things, and it seems like he does. Like, this was not the first ship they got. This is like, well, if this performs like the other. Oh, did they tell us that?
Yeah, I think the very last line of this is, if this performs like the other, there will be 5. I think that's what they said, but I didn't have subtitles.
It will be fun. Like if it performs like the others, it'll be
See?
fun.
Maybe I need subtitles to know for sure.
So there's between 1 and 5 apparently of these things, and like if that allows them to engage, like I said, a 5-to-1 odds, then yeah, like the belt will probably be like, well, you know, he took a real gamble with all of our lives, which is nothing the inners haven't done before, and he won. You know, like he's going to be able to push them back and reclaim. So if that's his strategy, then that's pretty fucking brilliant. Like delay as long as we can to get this new, like, you know, what if the Nazis had invented nukes and jet planes, you know, 2 years before the end of the war? Like we'd probably all be speaking German, right? Like, is Marco going to be able to pull off a coup like that? But it feels like, yeah, but that's the thing. The balance of power just changed again at the end of this episode, or at least the show is telling me that. So
yeah.
I did like how they use the number one. I liked seeing my favorite Martian captain, Captain Carino, back in action. You might recall her as being the Martian captain that single-handedly kept Earth and Mars out of a war during the Souther Wind mutiny crisis. You know, she's like, don't fucking engage, just stand back and so I like her, and she's back at it. And also I liked how like we see the Martians use their armored marines. Like they're not like in force, they're essentially like use like tanks that they kind of like go in as a spearhead, and then a bunch of lightly armored troops follow them. I just like the other thing I noticed is like, is it just me, or are these Marines don't move as well as their armor as Bobby does? And is that intentional? Because I felt like these guys were pretty stompy and clunky and loose. Is that to contrast like your regular armored Marine versus Bobby, who is like our hero Marine?
Could be. Yeah, I didn't really notice it. I was noticing the interrogation over Zoom, which I assume is just how the U.S. government conducts interrogations now. It's just a Zoom call into the holding cell.
to the black cells, yeah. So let's get to that. The Avasarala remotely interrogates the flinty station chief who we last saw trying to bring Philip Inaros to justice. It's interesting. Her prescription to Avasarala is take your people and leave because Ceres has nothing. Why would she tell them that? Because that dooms everyone to 3 weeks of a slow death.
Well, I think she's just pulling the military personnel off there, and then I think they're sending everybody. They're sending like the people who can coordinate the logistics, right, of getting food there and stuff to help. I don't know. That was my assumption. I don't think she's abandoning the people on Ceres.
Who?
Avasarala?
No, I'm saying the station chief told her, if you want my advice, get your people and get out of here.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, that seems kind of fatalistic, because if Avasarala listens to her, then they all die.
Yeah, she's a military commander. She doesn't see the value of the resource, I guess, at this point. I'm not sure. They're clearly making someone in this room look stupid so that Avasarala can look smart, but she always looks smart.
They also, I thought it was an interesting line, Avasarala being hesitant to turn the Belters over to the Martians for interrogation. And because the first time he meets Avasarala, she's interrogating a Belter at the end of gravity hooks. This pretty cruel and unusual form of torture for a Belter that can kill them just by exposure to Earth's gravity. It's like forced projection. I was looking for types of projection in this episode, and I think that was one, because I think Avasarala's worried that Mars would do what they would. And I don't know if I buy Mars would never torture people, especially when Bobby seemed to be very enthusiastic about getting to crew the Rocinante and extraordinarily rendering them off to a Martian base. And yeah, it's like, you don't need to, because you've got the vitamin E supplements that you take. That's
the truth serum, truth detector drug.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the Rocinante, which is burning hard towards Ceres, presumably to join with the fleet. Holden promotes Peaches to backup pilot, and they have a heart-to-heart about regret.
It's wild to me. Holden makes a couple of decisions here that I wouldn't necessarily make in this episode. One is to spare Marco's life. Two is to leave Claire in charge of the Rocinante when she's clearly under the influence You're gonna let her DUI the Rossi? That's not smart, man. Like, I know she seems clear-eyed and stuff, but she can barely walk.
Yeah, pretty, but he is too. Like, you know, you've got someone coming down off of an epic Molly roll versus a guy who's not slept for 4 days apparently. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's like Holden, once your switch flips to full crew member, we've seen this with Prax, we've seen it with you know, honestly going back to Amos, like once he considers you crew, then that's it, you know, like he said. Last episode. What do you think about, because this is something I honestly struggle with, like there's people with regrets on this ship and then there's people with regrets on this ship, and I've always thought it's interesting that like the show kind of chalks up Naomi killing 500 people with her, you know, reactor bomb to as a youthful indiscretion, which fine. I don't think she knew, like I like the way she explained it, like this was a shakedown, kind of like a way to generate money, and it was never intended to like kill people, and she trusted Marco not to do that.
Yeah. But
there's some culpability there. Like what the things that Amos and Holden regret and Alex regrets is fundamentally different from like Naomi and especially Peaches.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like what do you do with society with these people? Like everything I've read in sociology says that like super long prison sentences, like sending people to prison for 50 years for murdering someone, doesn't do anything about keeping people from murdering people, doesn't do anything about the recidivism rate. It's just purely punitive. But on the other hand, it feels wrong to let someone that blew up a ship, murdered a person in cold blood, et cetera, just go because she feels bad about it later.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that?
I don't know, man. It feels also equally as wrong to make someone who has clearly changed pay for the sins of an effectively different person forever.
There's that too. Yeah.
So like, I think an argument can be made either way. And I think it depends on who you are and how this thing affected you. If you're James Holden, you could probably make a pretty vociferous argument about why she should still be punished. But also, you know, she does seem thoroughly changed. I think like Amos's time with her, Amos's like evaluation of her makes me feel a lot better about her. And I think the same is true of Holden, right? Like, okay, well, if Amos thinks she's cool, I guess I think she's cool. I
think you're onto something there too. His unique position of being able to condemn her is also him being in a unique position to kind of like, you know, forgive her because he was her primary target. So
for sure. Yeah. She can get something out of that.
But I think it's interesting to see how they're dealing. And I wonder what it says about guys like Marco and Philip. Like, you know, Marco probably needs to die. I don't know what kind of, in any kind of just society. I mean, if you want to make him a prisoner for life as an object lesson in Mercy or whatever, like a Rick Grimes kind of deal, fine. But what do you do with a guy like Philip, who's been brainwashed since he was literally a baby into this? And who's only like, what, 16, 17, maybe 18? Like, does he get the sunk into the pit treatment? What is justice? It'll be interesting to see if the show has any answers along those lines, or if they're going to take the easy way out of Marco and Philip just dying.
The other thing about this scene that I thought was almost funny is like the way that Claire is telling Holden like about her mods is like, well, I used my mods before and I ripped a man apart with my bare hands. I tore him to shreds. There was nothing he could do. He couldn't stop me with a bulldozer. I feel like she's essentially saying to him, like, I could still kill you at any moment. Like, I could just swipe my tongue across the roof of my mouth and you're dead. And there's nothing you could do to stop me. And I haven't done that, right? There's almost like an implied threat that shows that she's not a threat here. It's very strange to me, at least how I read it.
Yeah, I could kill you, and I mean that's one of the most convincing things you can ever say as like as an antagonist turned ally is like, look, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead already. Like, how many times have we seen like a sit down begin with that? Like, you know, relax if you want. So But you might be. I think you're onto something there. Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey, you can trust me because all I have to do is work a corn kernel out from underneath between my teeth, and I can kill you.
Uh-huh.
But I was thinking about how would you accidentally, if you got but you ate a peanut butter sandwich, from peanut butter on top of that, or got a corn, or a tortilla chip stuck in your teeth, and then suddenly and you're killing people. This seems suboptimal.
Yeah, do you have to kill people when you're on the drug, or can you just really go after that tortilla chip?
You just endure the mother of all fight or flight responses, and for 5 seconds, and you'll be fine. Right. And it feels like 50, but you'll be fine. Yeah, just breathe, count to 10. Meditate.
Does it still work if you burn the roof of your mouth with a super hot pizza?
Yeah, it's hot cocoa or pizza will disable the system for up to. That's what she needs. She needs hot pizza therapy.
Yeah.
The scalding hot mozzarella once a day, and it's better than any UN prison suppressor. That's for sure.
It's true.
Let's move on to Amos and Bobby in the galley, doing what soldiers from time immemorial have done: complain about the food that they're forced to eat on the march.
Boy, do they complain! Their bodies complain for them. God, Bobby's reaction to that food was intense.
It seems pretty nasty. Now, I know that space food, even under its best circumstances, is not great. And it feels like this is another kind of subtle mourning of Alex because he was the ship's cook, He always was there with real cheese and real love, making his cowboy lasagna and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. They also swap intel about Ceres Station. Question, was this cute or cringe?
Which part? Sorry, I'm not remembering this very well.
I noticed that they've got a flirtation with Bobby and Amos, it seems. An uptick of the sweet cheeks and baby cakes and bubble butts and all the other things she's calling them. And just I don't know, this it's a weird kind of. I like both these characters. These are probably 2 of my favorite characters on the show. Amos, certainly. Bobby, I think, is the second. But I don't know. I was kind of left a little cold by the crew bonding dialogue that they were doing. I was surprised by that.
I mostly liked it. I thought I had this impulse at the end of the scene to be like, they're flirting. They might. There's a chance they might hook up. But then, I just realized that Bobby. Bobby had the same energy with Alex. Bobby has this energy with a lot of people that she gets close to. I think this is a friendship thing more than anything. This is them bonding. Disarming. Yeah. Just bonding as a crew member, crew member to crew member. If she is going to come on board here, this is how they're going to treat each other. It's not a flirtatious thing. It's not a romantic thing. It's just them being, friendly with each other.
Yeah. I did like them talking about because they bring up the can, everything is on the last season. They're bringing up for season 1 stuff, earlier season stuff. There's lots of nostalgia in this episode, and talking about the can and how they haven't thought about that, and the Donager and how Mars felt about that, and how she was wanting to drag him off to Hecate base, which I think is named after Hecate Tholus, a Martian volcano. That busted up on the news 8-9 years ago when the EU's satellite discovered some interesting things about its mud-driven volcanic geology. So it's been in the news lately. But I thought that was fun. Amos, I wouldn't have gone quietly, and she's like, oh, that could have been fun too. It's just, I don't know. It's something about the bars and the brothels and the noodles, and that felt a little silly to me.
Okay.
Naomi and Holden then talk about her freeze up during the taking of the Azure Dragon. Then Holden gives her some homework to take her mind off her problems.
Mm-hmm. Naomi looks so small in this scene. There's the shot where Holden's in the foreground and the forced perspective on it just makes her look tiny. I think that's intentional.
I do like and mainlining this season, the whole series in the last month or so. One thing I respect about the show is that they are not afraid to make their heroes look vulnerable. and tired and beat up. Like I feel like half of the episodes Holden has spent in some kind of like black eye makeup or nose broken makeup, or and Naomi looked like she got drugged down 10 miles of dirt road last season, and you can tell like this is all kind of wearing on her, and that's why I'm a little nervous about this disabled warhead. Like a lot of this episode is setting up like Holden thinking that Naomi's fragile, and my God, what else can she bear under her trauma? And this, looking into her son's eyes over view screen as he's vaporized. That's a bridge too far. Christ, Holden, I don't know. We're gonna have a talk about this in future episodes.
Yeah, I don't know. The show has handled Naomi as a character better than the book handled Naomi. Made her stronger, made her more of a, I don't know, a person with agency. Less of a victim. And I think I trust them at this point to handle this pretty well, but we'll see. Like, I think, if Holden is doing that, if he is like, oh, Naomi can't handle this, I need to protect her, Naomi will probably come out next episode and say, fuck you, I don't need your protection. Like, I just need your, exactly I just need someone to talk to. I just need your understanding, like something like that. Yeah. And probably tell him, hey, you should have taken that shot, you idiot.
Yeah, exactly. But I like that they talked through that hesitation. It made perfect sense. We'd already surmised it. It's like, like they did a great job visual storytelling of like that moment was her jumping out. And that I think that's also something that people don't realize is like the first time you do something is something crazy and heroic and is sometimes the easiest thing. Like the first time you storm a beach when you're like a Marine in the Pacific might be easier than the second time, because the first time it's like, fuck it, I don't know, shit, I'm just going to run. The second time, you know exactly how hard and how bad it can suck. So like, Naomi doing two of those in a row and then potentially like it being triggered just made perfect sense. And I thought they did a great job of visualizing that. Mm-hmm. And then, Holden correctly diagnoses that the perfect solution to Naomi's problem is to give her a tough theoretical problem to solve. So he gives her all the Martian data on the disappearing ships and says, hey, find something in the stack of find a needle in this haystack. Mm-hmm. On board the Pella, Marco shrugs off some bad news about the inner fleets closing in on them. Then Philip takes issues with his father's strategy of abandoning the Belters.
Yeah, I would say things are starting to, the cracks in Marco's plans are starting to show. Last episode, we had I think it was the final scene where Marco's like saying, oh yeah, this was the plan all along. He's saying it as much again here, even in the face of worse news, which is the Inners are rebuilding their fleet faster than we thought. They've got 2 new Donager class and 3 new large scale UN ships. Which is that's a ton, right? I mean, like, until we see the very end of this episode, it seems pretty bleak for the Free Navy.
Right. Yeah. Because that's just like, and that's, I don't think that's sum total. That's just like the biggest warships they've got. Like there's countless supply and picket ships and frigates and cruisers to kind of go with that. Like it's like saying you have 5 aircraft carriers. 5 aircraft carriers are steaming into your bays. Then you're going to have fucking 15 cruisers and 30 frigates and probably 6 or a half dozen submarines and all the stuff that goes with it. So it's like you said, it's pretty bad. I like the ship names in this show, and the Pella, of course, we knew this last season. That's the capital city of Marco's idol, Alexander the Great, an ancient eat. Granicus is a reference to the Battle of Granicus. Was the first of the 3 major battles that Alexander won against the Persian Empire back in the 4th century BC. And the one that I don't know about is Labur. I have a guess that it might, because like I know that Dan and Ty occasionally give homage to their literary inspirations or people that are important in education, and I found that there's a Patricia Lobner who was a Newbery Award winning author of children's science books, both fiction and nonfiction, who died in 2010.
Okay.
If anyone that has a better idea of what Lobner could be a reference to, let me know. But that's what I dug up about those ships. But yeah, they I thought this is the books. I thought the book 5 did a great job, and we talked about this the last episode about how Marco has a strategy for having 10 balls up in the air, and if 9 of them fall and 1 of them succeeds, then the 9 were just a cloak for the 1 success,
which was the only important one. Yeah,
is the only one that was ever important. And I just recently saw this as I just concluded season 5. But like, you know, when the first 3 things hit and then the 4th, they reconfigured the watchtowers to take it out. You can tell on Marco's face he didn't like that. But then he's like, oh, it just to have 1 work was 3 is a triumph. It's more than I ever dreamed. Like he's this constant bullshit factory. And you can see him trying to spin it up. And it's just like among his inner advisors, it's starting to wear thin. Like, well, great, boss. I'm glad you're not worried, but why aren't you worried? I'm just not worried. And I don't know. It's a crazy dashing pirate scheme to just try to stay 1 step ahead of your adversary until something you can't plan or rely on falls in your lap and saves you. Like the Martians developing protomolecule Laconia technology, you know, it's crazy.
Sure. Yeah. At least I think that's what's happening. I also see, you know, like Philip storming in here and saying, hey, this is a huge mistake. He thinks not only made a tactical error by reducing the morale of the Belters, but also he made a promise to these people, right? Like, yeah, it's not just about the war. It's also about the people that you're trying to fight this war for. And if you win the war and lose all the people, you haven't won anything. But
right.
I don't know. Marco is definitely suffering from no true Belter syndrome, right? When he takes Philip aside and he's like, you and me, we're not like those other Belters. Those other Belters are weak. Those other Belters are, practically inners, right? He's
all well wallows. Yeah.
Yeah. He's making some artificial distinction here between a particular type of Belter and themselves. And it, to the point where it's the name. There are only 2 true Belters. It's Philip and Marco. And I get the impression that if Philip crosses him too many times, it's just Marco. Like the name becomes not Inaros, the name becomes Marco. And he is the only true Belter. And that's what they chant. They chant Marco. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see it, man. I can see it. I mean, it's so blatant. It's so obvious. But also I feel like the people around him aren't seeing it the way he is. But he's also blind, right? Like I think he's totally blind to what's going on in Philip's head. He thinks sitting him down and having a talk with him can cause Philip to fire the missiles to kill his mother. And I guess it works, but
it's working a little less. Like the hypocrisies are piling up. The special, like, this goes hand in hand with his father springing him out of jail, like rules for thee, not for me. And Philip's going to find out that like one of these days he's going to be outside of that, me, thee category. Maybe sometime really soon.
If he keeps coming onto the bridge and saying your plan is bullshit. Yeah. Sooner rather than later.
I wondered if this is the last time that we're going to see, because we've seen it so many times in last season, the slap and soothe strategy, like slap you in the face with an attack on your manhood, your belterness, your bravery, and then be like, but we're Anaros, we're meant to live for better things. These are all like, tearing them down, building them up. This might be the last time he kind of sort of successfully gets him back into his under his spell, because I don't know, it might be broken forever. Yeah. There's not that many episodes left. So, and we're back as we witness Drummer beginning to consolidate her power amongst the disaffected Belter factions as she uses her golden bow contact she received from Walker last episode to bring a few more ships into her fleet. We also begin to see Avasarala's empathy bomb that she's constructed with Monica take effect amongst the Belters in the form of Drummer's crew. What do you think of this scene?
The empathy bomb in the form of Anna Volavadov. I like seeing her again. I think there
another
is
nostalgic episode, man.
Yeah, there are a couple of they're not cameos, but there are a couple of like characters who come back in this episode that I thought was really good.
Just good people, just good folks.
Yeah, that's what it takes, like Bobby says. So yeah, I mean, Michio seems to. It's not just that she's not got the aptitude for what she's doing; it's that her heart isn't in it, right? I mean, the war they're fighting. I feel like she really just doesn't want there to be a war, and so she's not getting on board with what it takes to fight the war.
Mm-hmm. I just liked it. Like, it's a great the argument between the crew is just a great microcosm of the argument of like, well, now they know what it feels like to be us, but what does it feel like to be us? Does it feel good? Do you feel like you want to stop fighting, or do you want to fight even harder? Like, this is this Michio Pa is the one that's having this argument. Michio, the macho. I don't know why I ever gave it Macho Peru. Just Macho Peru engaged in a philosophical battle with this guy, and I like it. And it shows also the kind of propaganda genius of Avasarala, that you don't need much to keep this squabbling faction from disintegrating against itself, and you know it's happening. They mentioned that this ship that's joining them, the Galt and the Saberhagen, the Galt has shotgun PDCs, which I thought was cool. I've never heard them referred to as this, but I noticed when I was watching season 5, the very first Belter pirate that Drummer takes down through 3 ships defends itself with one of these. And it's like, instead of the, Rossi style PDCs that have like the constantly tracking stream of tracer fire, this just shoots out clouds of like it says, looks like pellets that try to intercept the missile,
like a flak cannon,
like a flak. It felt like a flak cannon. So I thought that's cool that there's like more than one way to skin an anti-missile system in this universe.
Yeah.
And the line, this is so Lando, man. Like, do you trust him? Do you trust him completely? Trust him enough. Like this is. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. That the Drummer's getting this quote unquote support.
I can't tell if this is just Belter stuff and no one ever really trusts anyone in the belt, or if this is something that's setting up a betrayal later. Like, this could just be world building, right?
I mean, that's the problem with being an insurgency. It's like, who do you trust? There's such a huge reward for turning on that. And you're usually fighting a vastly more powerful, wealthy foe. So like, there's always a source of corruption. And it's hard and it sucks to be in it. So like, she's a double insurgent. She has no home in the belt. She has no home on Mars or Earth. So you have to trust people. But damn, this guy seems slippery as fuck. And some of this stuff seems too good to be true. 10 caches and, like, what's that going to do? Although Marco's already got 5 of these proto-molecule ships. Damn, how many caches does he need? Yeah. And also, I also like that it's nice because we already know everything that they're finding out about these caches, and like, why is he hiding these supplies? Well, we know, but it lets us know that these are smart people because they're making correct surmisals. And sometimes it's fun to see them make reasonable surmisals that are incorrect, because we've seen that in previous episodes where Earth was thinking it was Mars and Mars was thinking it was Earth, and it was actually some shadowy cabal government that was playing them both for suckers. Like, I love how the show does that. It gives us all the information and we just see the smart people and the dumb people kind of processing through it. Do you want to hear some speculation about these ship names?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Saberhagen, this is almost a sure thing. I did some, and then the first one I heard, I'm like, I wonder if this is a reference to Fred Saberhagen's, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, author of the Berserk and Book of Swords series. It turns out I found an interview with Daniel Abraham where he this high school mentorship program that he joined in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Apparently Fred Saberhagen did work with teenage authors, and they became close friends, and he credits Fred Saberhagen as one of his closest mentors.
Right.
Yeah, he says there was this high school mentorship program where if there's something you want to do with your life, you could go have a professional disabuse you of the notion. Abraham recalls with a raised brow, I got an apprenticeship at the local radio station and it was terrible. My second choice was writing, and Fred became my mentor. I was mostly doing sci-fi and fantasy by then. I'd go to Fred's house on Saturdays and show him what I was working on. So I thought that was a pretty obvious reference. And Galt, I'm guessing, is a reference to John Galt, the famous Ayn Rand hero, Atlas Shrugged hero. And I feel like Belters would be prone to libertarianism of one stripe or another.
Sure, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see a bunch of angry Belters reading Atlas Shrugged and thinking, that seems like religion to me.
Is that book worth reading? I've never read that book.
Dude, I don't know.
I know it's controversial.
I ran to some people that were really into it in high school, and I since think all those people are pretty fucking cringe. So probably not, but
I mean, it's different if you read it during high school,
book, right?
Right, like when you're when you're forming opinions about the world and politics.
Yeah,
and
lots of ill thought out revolutionary ideologies sound good when you're in high school,
right?
But,
right.
Anyway,
it's also a very big book, so fuck that.
It is. I think it's also like a two-parter. Isn't Fountainhead got Galt in it too, or did she just write two identical books with different heroes?
Maybe.
Avasarala gets debriefed on the pacification of Ceres Station and wishes Monica good luck on her next reports, which apparently will chronicle the Inner's relief efforts on Ceres Station.
Yeah, my next piece will be better. I was trying to determine what exactly that's going to be, but she says it here or no?
She does say it here, and I took it as like, all right, old lady, you've been using me for propaganda. This next piece is going to really cork off, and it probably piss her off.
But then is she killed in this episode, or
I don't
does
know.
She wander off and is thereby saved?
I think it's going to be the latter. I think they're setting her up to have another free radio behemoth situation where she's going to be like in some kind of belter cell doing webcam interviews and stuff from Ceres Station to kind of like generate sympathy all around, because it seems like the start was we need the belters to sympathize with us, but now it's like we also need the Earth to sympathize enough for the Beltus to avoid this humanitarian disaster and not have like, how the hell are you saving millions of them when there's billions of us dying? How do you keep that political situation from blowing up in their face? And I don't know. It could be that Monica kind of freelances on this in a way that Avasarala wouldn't be comfortable with. It might be what they need.
It could be.
But
I think if her intention was to like use her influence and her reporting to kind of stick it to the old lady, I think that might have changed after this event, after the sabotage.
This fleet admiral that's debriefing Avasarala is gigantic.
Yeah.
He's like a Panamax cargo ship. He can just barely fit through these bulkheads. There's like, do you know when he goes through, there's like the hairs on his head. He's shaved so he can fit underneath them. Like if he had hair, he'd get stuck. Yeah. I can't, like, they must have built this class of ship with his is like, okay, this is the largest crew member that can fit, make him the admiral. He's the yardstick. I thought it was hilarious. He's just like barely clearing this stuff, standing up straight.
Nice.
In deep space, guess what? Pella happens to come upon the Rocinante all alone, and Philip with his wolf pack.
Yeah, dude, I was getting excited at this point in the episode because I'm like, all right, we're about to see some good shit here. I was hoping they would get to it this episode, and they definitely did. But I was questioning Marco's decision here to put Philip at the con at the weapons station. After this talk, I think Marco has a pretty high estimation of the persuasive power of his conversations with his son at this point. But it works. It works enough, right? He does fire those missiles. It's not his fault that the PDC rounds are able to take them down. I just couldn't help but think Marco is being a little naive here.
And I think everyone, is it Rosenfeld, his second in command? She warns him about diverting and taking your mind off the larger picture. But all you can see is the massive advantage, and this is an opportunity. This is and
he's not
even
wrong.
if he wins,
I mean, it's a morale blow
pure
to
propaganda.
the UN, right?
I mean, he's not wrong. This would be a huge propaganda win, just like Avasarala correctly predicted last year that, them working, the Rocinante being out there active in the belt, a shining example of Mars, Earth, and the belt working together, doing good things, taking that down. But it's such a slight win, and it's so personal to him at this point. It seems foolhardy to everyone but Marco.
Oh, definitely. There is an element of like Ahab's white whale. Stuff
he goes
here.
in full. He's about to go full on Ahab.
Yeah. That's there. Also, I was detecting a little bit of Luke being enticed to the dark side and asked to kill his father. Like, if Marco can talk Philip into killing his mother in this situation, he's got full control over this kid, right? Like, that cements the control that he has over his son.
He can get him to kill hundreds of millions of Earthers. He can also get him to kill his own mother. Like, what? And that's it. He has full control. Yeah. He's fully a puppet at that point. Yeah. Might be even a perverse way to test his control, and that's why it's ostensibly to show how much trust he has in his son, but also it's a test of loyalty.
Right.
The next scene is set up by Amos getting a surprise message from his best friend in the whole world. I was so glad to see Prax again. As soon as his face showed up and he went into his science speech, like it just felt.
Yeah, he'll get around to it. Give him a second.
Yeah.
Good dialogue here. Good stuff. I was a little surprised that. I don't know what the state of like viruses and phishing schemes is in the 23rd century or whenever this happens, but Amos just gets some message from somebody that he doesn't know, throws it right up onto the ship's computers, and gets them decrypting that file. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, man? You just got phished. All your credit card information is now on the internet. People are buying. I don't know what they buy. They buy, I don't know, subscriptions to porn sites with your credit cards. Whatever it is.
Essentially opened up hotunpoliticians.exe and threw it on the Rossi's computer. Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild. It was wild that he just threw this up there, but I don't know. There's probably some future tech that's keeping him safe.
No data hygiene whatsoever.
But yeah, then Prax shows up with a message.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, Earth might be fucked, but also might be able to save with their own ingenuity. Like, if they've got this yeast that can grow massive. So this is, I'm like Amos. I didn't follow all of the technobabble here. But what I got is they've genetically engineered some yeast and combined it with research from they gained from the protomolecules, like growth factors and stuff. And they've got this organism that can generate a massive amount of food on nothing but carbon dioxide and waste heat, which the Expanse universe has tons of. Like, that's one of the big problems in the books is how, these ships generate massive amounts of power, massive amounts of heat, and space is a vacuum, which is an excellent, if you got a Yeti cup, that's an excellent insulator. So like this is just like carbon dioxide.
Yeah, a bunch of people breathing out CO2. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you water with piss, it's the perfect thing. Like it's great. And he's risking his life. And that's the thing. It's like it always left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth how Prax was like dropped like a hot potato and like, oh, he's back with his daughter and he's happy now. But it's nice that he's got this family and all that stuff. And as Amos points out, he's got this great life and he's risking it all. Like, someone else just got murdered for doing what he's trying to do right now. And he's doing it for nothing other than to help out people he doesn't know. Yeah. And he's just a good guy. And like Bobby says, sometimes that's all it takes. Yeah,
I do wonder how much of this is like the research that he's working on is sort of at his own, under his own at his own impetus. I don't know how to say that, but like, it is what he's doing sort of at gunpoint for the Free Navy with this research, or is this something that he would be doing anyway and he sees as a righteous cause and is doing it sort of on the side, just like, oh, this is the thing I'm doing, and if it helps anybody, it's great.
I think there was there's a throwaway line about them doing research in the belt for like, cause Marco not being worried about the food production. You know, like what if we don't have live soils and what the hell are we going to do? He was never, and I was thinking that was going to lead to some kind of pseudoscientific, like, you know, Marco just being kind of lazy and curious as a leader. But it seems like maybe they had this breakthrough they've been working on, and and this person was killed not because they developed it, but because they were going to share it with Earth. So like, gotcha. I think it's something that, and I don't know that Prax would have a problem with developing high yield food because Ganymede's fucked because of the Inners War. He probably has no love for the Free Navy, but like Belters need to eat, right?
I mean, that's probably what he was working on all along. It's just he didn't have proto-molecule tech to really
right. Like
that.
I guess, yeah. Broadly speaking, everybody in the belt working to grow food is trying to grow more with less, right? So you're right. This is probably Belter ingenuity over generations, and now you inject some proto-molecule in it, and it also says something about like the Belters, I think, too, that like. The Belters experiment is yielding tons of food. You know, the more you share, the more your belt will be plentiful, or the more your bowl will be plentiful. Versus the Inners who are using it as some kind of weapon. And then but then there's also some kind of curse of like Marco trying to subvert that generosity. You know, like he's going against the Belter proverb.
Yeah, I mean, he wants them to starve for sure. That does seem like a it's transgressive.
And then there's the show comments on Amos calling Avasarala Chrissy. And she goes, she loves when you call her that. And he goes, at least I say it to her face. And they have a good chuckle about that. Yeah. I don't know. Avasarala's newly single. Maybe after war, ready to mingle. I don't know what books 7 through 9 are about. Maybe it's a torrid Amos Avasarala love affair.
Could be.
Naomi develops some theories about the Ringgate disappearance before Peaches interrupts to inform them they're suddenly being hunted by Marcos and his wolf pack.
What are the theories? I feel like this scene told me nothing. This scene says she found a pattern and that's it.
Well, that's a first start, right? Like
for sure.
Before you can come a theory, you have to notice a pattern in it. And I like how like this is the holograph. This looked like the holographic version of Charlie's crazy yarn board, you know, theory like thing, like because it's got red lines connecting, and there's like all this like look at, but she says this, I don't have the research or skill set to fully explain it, and he says I might. Who is he talking about? I'm trying to think of people that we've gone through in this series.
I was too. Like Cortazar is the only one I could think.
But he's through the gate working for someone else.
Laconia,
and
right?
There's like, why would he think that he has? I'm trying to think if there's been anybody like a Belter mechanic that didn't turn traitor.
Miller? Is he gonna? If he can, is there any way to contact Miller?
If he does, I'm just saying like I don't like because my understanding only proto-molecule that came from the whole situation involved, although no, because the Miller communicated to him through the proto-molecule that's left by the Belter child that got mutated and got rampage on his ship. I don't think that had anything to do with Eros, or maybe it did.
Oh, it's
did. They
it's Mao.
Mao.
Yeah, it's Jules Pierre Mao. He's in jail, right?
That's true.
He's the only guy who Holden could have access to, especially because his daughter's on their ship right now. He's the only guy you could have access to.
If you're book reading shit, this is gonna end this, Jim.
If I am, I apologize. I totally don't remember this in the book if it's in there, but yeah, that's my guess.
That's a good pull, and it would tie into the faces from the past kind of coming back to play their parts and make you know, like they've been doing that a lot. Like, you know, we've seen Anna show up, we've seen Prax, you know, all and Prax. We've good people. I wonder if the bad people show up. And he got name checked this episode too. Like Peaches, hey, remember my father, that real asshole, and I did everything for him, and I thought he was a hero. And there's a lot to that theory. That's my guess. That'd be like asking, like, you know, Bill Gates about some obscure piece of Windows server architecture in 2021.
Or Steve Ballmer. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, would he, like, either of those people even fucking know, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They've been retired or away for a while, but I
maybe
think
he's got some files hanging around somewhere that they could get,
or some contacts or some people like he paid to. that is an interesting idea. I wonder where they got him holed up at. Like, is he on some kind of lunar penal colony, or is he on Earth in one of those holes?
That's a good question. Yeah, how close was he to some of these impact sites? Is he even alive anymore? Who knows?
Right. We go back to Ceres Station to see UN Marines handing out relief supplies, for better or worse, and Monica scrounging for some Belter on the street interviews when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
I did not see this coming.
Nope.
Jaw dropped open when it went on. But I like the scene. What'd you think?
Yeah. I mean, there would be resistance, right? I think this makes perfect sense. Although it seems like cutting off your nose to spite your face, but okay.
Wouldn't be the first or last time shit like this happened, where you build up so much antipathy that, you know, like people would rather die than live under your leash, you know, like Marco says.
Sure.
My question is this active resistance, or is this surprises that Marco left? Because they talked about that throughout the episode. Like, this could be a trap. This could be a trap. And it's a philanthropic trap, but it could also just be a trap, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
But the challenge is, like, even like at any rate, like from an Earther perspective, it's like, can you stay on mission even though, like, are you strong enough to take these hits and keep doing the right thing without going in and just, you know, doing the thing you want to do, which is fucking space all these assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what the situation, it's either Marco and these people are blameless, or it's a very small faction of people fucking shit up. But like, what, you know, are you going to let these millions die because of the actions of a few? It's a real test for a strong nation, strong politicians. How are they going to do it? And it's just so many great like details, like this one Marine who believes in it, and like and he's like, you know, trying to probably on his own initiative, thanking Belters and welcoming them with a greeting in their own language, and the other guy making fun of him, and then Monica busting him. You asked me what I thought about Monica's death. It felt like the whole station was going up. It also felt like they were telling me that this involves water, because it felt like there's just shit tons of water spilling out of that dock. So if they only had 3 weeks of supplies, and then I'm seeing all the lifeblood of the station, how much more desperate is that going to be? But yeah. I think Monica lives, and she's, like I said, she's going to do that embedded free radio thing that she's so good at.
Mm-hmm.
To what end? I don't know. I guess generating mutual empathy throughout the belt and the inner system.
I mean, Avasarala's ship is there. So, which seems wild to me. And now that I'm thinking about where she is,
she's leading from the front.
Way back behind the lines. Why is she not on Luna? Why is she out in the belt?
She's leading from the front, man.
That's crazy.
She's a wartime secretary general, I guess. It is crazy, but it also is like a statement, you know, kind of like Nancy Gao, like,
yeah,
hey, you should go to the moon. Earth's under attack. Fuck that. I'm staying here. She died.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's one of those things where, and I don't think she's actually on. Is she on the station?
I don't think she's on the station. I think she's on her ship near the station.
But that ship was definitely in harm's way.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, Monica was on the ship and then on Ceres, so she's got to be close by.
Yeah. The Rocinante is then engaged in a 3-on-1 running battle towards the Ceres station, and it's amazing. Like I said, it involves, I shit you not, a 180 no scope railgun shot from James Holden, demonstrating Bobby's tactical brilliance. I mean, I hate to say which is my favorite space battle at this point, because there's so much. There's the stealth ship Rossi duel at the protomolecule station. There's the Drummer and Rossi combined action last season.
Using torpedo as a invisibility cloak and then flying through it and tagging a ship as you spin past. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
But this is pretty, like, just from a sheer impressiveness, the Rocinante punching way above its weight, and taking advantage of the tactical inexperience of the Belters.
Yeah.
And just everything came together. I thought the effects was amazing. All the spin stuff and the harm it was doing to Amos and Peaches was great. And the music, oh my God, the music is it builds to such a crescendo when they managed to juke Depella into those PDC rounds. It's just, my hat's off to them. It's so exciting.
It is extremely exciting. Until we get to what I feel is like not a mistake. The show is right on point here. I'm with it. I'm just not with Holden. I fundamentally disagree when he's got Marco in his sights, dead in the water, and he could take him out with a single torpedo, and he disarms that torpedo as it right before it hits Marco. And my only window into this is the view screen where he sees Philip looking past Marco at his mother, and I assume Holden knows who that is at this point. He can tell. That's
why he stayed.
I know, man. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it's perfect. Like I said, I fundamentally disagree. I think his other reasoning, Marco is more valuable as a prisoner than a martyr, is also true, but is he more valuable dead than he is alive and free? Because that's the distinction here. Not
I just think
martyr
of everyone
versus prisoner.
All the times Marco's gotten away, like Marco was, because Drummer miscalculated in the politics and let him go then, because Ashford had the drop on him, could have blown his brains out, but felt it was more important to leak his plan out to whoever could hear it and sacrifice himself and gain that advantage. How many chances is this guy going to get? Like, to me, the only plausible thing is, because I did, and I don't know, I could be wrong about this, but I've read that like there was always plans to assassinate Hitler. And a lot of the allies were ambivalent about them because it turns out Hitler is just a really shitty commander. Like, he made terrible decisions. He was like fucking tripping on balls on speed all the time. Like, he was not a great leader. And there was a lot of thought that like he was doing more harm to the German war effort at its head than he could do in the ground. Like, someone more competent might take over and do a better job. But like, I don't think that's a call that Holden gets to make. And like, with all the ways this guy slipped out and seeing it for, like I said, just watching the whole series, like, really put that in relief of season 4 and season 5. He like he got improbable escapes like 3-4 times. Like, God damn, again.
And I think if Avasarala is in this position, she makes the opposite call. She kills him. She sees him more valuable dead than alive, leading the fleet, even though, yes, he's not a brilliant mind. He did something rash. He did something so unexpected that no one could possibly see it and prevent him from doing it. But he's failing as a leader, in my estimation, after the fact. So, yeah, keeping him at the head of this Free Navy probably makes a certain amount of sense. But cutting the head off this beast, scoring that morale victory, that PR victory,
especially
it's 10
after
times
he just
what Ceres
abandoned Ceres, and then he immediately is killed by his arch nemesis in a 3-on-1 fight that he lost.
Yeah.
Like, Deltas respect a lot of things, but that kind of tripping over your own dick and punching yourself in the balls going through a door is not one of them. And you got to think, maybe there are some still hardliners of Medina Station to have, and like, hey, maybe we can make a go of it. But like, it really looks like he got lucky. He got Earth and with a sucker punch. And as soon as they got their eyes cleared from that, they just went and handled business. Like, it's because I was so fucking amped. And then when Bobby was like, fuck it, we've heard enough, and launched a missile, I was like sitting there like, it's 3 episodes, right? There's 3 more episodes to go. This war's over, and everyone goes, it's wild. And like, it felt, I hope this isn't just them extending the series, because it felt like it to me. It felt like, I don't think Holden makes this decision. If he does, he's selfish. And you're right. Like, Naomi, get to her credit, did not once say anything about Philip. She saw him there. It was going to hurt her worse than anything. But she was saying, take the shot. We will not get another chance, because she knows what this guy is capable of.
For sure. It feels wrong to have Holden make that call for her. I agree. And that's why, like, I don't even just disagree with Holden from a tactical perspective. I disagree with him from a personal perspective. From
like
being,
morally,
being Naomi's partner. It's wild, man. It's the first time I felt like this really like fundamentally about Holden. This is a mistake.
And I felt like, I mean, I definitely disagreed with him earlier in the series, but like I felt like one of the things is he's become a much more pragmatic. You know, he hasn't lost his soul or anything, and he always tries to do the right thing, but he is much more pragmatic than he used to be. Because he's seen like the ways of the paladin, like that can get all fucked too. I hope there's another explanation. Because it did immediately after I was so amped, like, oh God, that like. And it's I almost like is there a little bit of like coding in the writers, because it reminded me of Amos saying, oh, that bitter aftertaste comes out of nowhere, right? And that's how I felt. Like I just eaten a delicious space battle meal, and then it's coming back up because of Holden.
Yeah,
Damn.
I think we're supposed to disagree with him here. And that worked. That was effective.
And then. Also surprising, Marco survives this experience and decides to cut bait rather than fish. He fucks off because I think he knows.
Dude, the look. I will say, like, I disagree with Holden's decision here, but the look that these two guys are giving each other through the view screens is intense. Like there is.
Oh yeah.
I fully believe that look is what backed Marco down. Like Marco saw. He couldn't beat this guy. He can't beat this guy with 10 ships, let alone the 2 that he's got remaining and the one that's limping.
I wonder if Holden is literally in his head now.
Kinda.
Like
it seems like it.
He's like, this is so improbable, this victory. And like what else does does Marco have the humility to think, oh my God, what else do I not know about space combat? I've only won battles with overwhelming odds with sudden betrayals and things like that. Like, my God, I can't, even if I have this fantastic advantage, am I going to be able to press it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does in the next scene. We'll get there. But like it starts to, I do think Holden's in his head, and that might be a huge advantage. But still, geez, what's a really huge advantage? Killing the motherfucker. Yeah. And his son and his flagship.
Yeah.
And the other 2 escorts, because you can probably mop them up too, like if you want, like, Jesus. Anyway.
And killing whatever plan is in motion, right? The Marco keeps his plans in his head. They're always changing. Like there isn't really a plan for the Free Navy. Yeah. So you kill him, and like whatever
all the information runs through him. Like he's probably so much stuff is compartmentalized. How many does he who knows where all the caches are but him? Like,
right.
Yeah.
I assume Rosenfeld might, but I'm not sure of that.
I'm very curious about how, because the thing is, I also thought they might leave it on my first watch that, well, they might like Holden did something, but maybe, there's an alter, but like they made it explicit that like he disabled the warhead.
Yeah, they put it on screen in writing.
Yeah. I even thought like, well, maybe he's like did that on purpose. So like Marco will rejoin his fleet and they detonate it then. But like, I don't think Marco's going to leave that torpedo stuck up his, tailpipe. No. Like the first thing you do is remove the torpedo, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was the other part of this scene that we didn't talk about is that's the job, Peaches. That part of the scene with Amos and Peaches having to get up out of their crash couches during high speed maneuvering and massive thrust. Amos can barely stand up, and he's got to go outside and fix these PDCs, or maybe inside. I'm not sure.
But even then, like we've seen, like there's a scene of like one of the power saws floating in mid space during one of the.
Prax,
and I'm like,
yeah.
The scene with Prax where it was like a house of horrors, and Amos is holding on with one mag glove and just being thrown around like a rag doll. Like I gotta say, there is something like this beats the hell out of Scotty just screaming, "Hey, I'm gonna give it all she got!" Like seeing these guys ragdoll and bounce around. There's like real drama.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a war, like a total war in a way that I've never seen on a sci-fi show before.
Does that explain? Is every mechanic on a ship, on a warship, built like Amos? Are they all just these stocky fucking brutes who can lift six times their weight because they have to be to stand up in the G's.
It feels like Mars would do well to outfit some of their engineers with the Goliath suits, because for one, you can just form emergency structural support. Like if your ship's about to tear in half,
just hold it all
stick
together.
an engineer in there and you brace it and boom, you're good to go. But yeah, no, I think the Expanse Below Deck series would be a hell of a lot more interesting than probably whatever they're doing on the Trek style one.
Yeah, I like that show.
On the next scene, Margot rages and fumes aboard the Pella, turning his ire on his crew, his allies, his son, everyone but himself. And Philip's had enough.
Says, you failed. That was your pride.
Pride fucking with you.
I want to say he's lost him for good this time, but who knows? You have another sit down with him. Maybe you get him back on board for one last hurrah. It's tough to say.
Also, like, you could argue that this is Philip becoming the man his father needs. He's not afraid of his father. He's giving clear-eyed, 100% sober analysis of him the way that Marco seemed to appreciate from Rosenfeld the other episode. Like, I could see Marco because, like, he's raging and he's going into a narcissistic cave to lick his wounds. But then he gets a shot of Narcissus Supply, like, oh, one of your plans has succeeded and you've got some good news. I could see him coming out and being magnanimous and being like, Philip, you finally become the man and you've told me some hard truths. And it's all bullshit and manipulation, but like making him think that, hey, you're right and I'm wrong and we got to retake Ceres and we got these new warships and it was my plan all along.
Right.
If you only had the plan. And yeah, there's the slap where if you only had faith in me just a minute longer, son, you would have seen it.
Right.
How can he keep getting away with it, folks? I don't know.
He's got a pretty big tool to use here on his side with his RSR G6. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, next scene, Marco retires to his ready room defeated when he gets some good news from Medina Station. And you're right, the RSRG6. That's a weird name because it doesn't tell us anything. Like, it's not like a protomolecule class light picket or something. It's just, what the hell does RSRG6?
I don't know. It looks like a giant penis. Maybe? Giant penis is all I can.
A penis collider?
Think. Yeah. A super penis.
I was underwhelmed. I saw the protomolecule battlecruiser Laconia is working on.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
This series is known for its cool looking ships. Like and they're very distinctive. Like Earth ships look very different from Mars ships, but they all look cool. And you got the Belter ships, and this thing comes out and it just it kind of looks like a little bit of a bigger Razorback with a little bit of a wasp waist, but it's very plain Jane. It does not look very organic and twisted like some of the other protomolecule tech does. It's hard to tell in the lighting of the ring gate too, because everything's kind of purpley glow, but I was a little unimpressed by the ship design. It's very plain Jane.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me wonder, like, what are the capabilities of this ship? Does it look a certain way because it needs to? Is it a function and form sort of thing? Like maybe a Death Star, right? You've got the big dish looking cutout because that's where all the turbo lasers congregate. Is there some element of function to its form, or is this just what they decided to make it look like? And how is it enhanced? Clearly they're making it out to be a protomolecule enhanced ship, I think, anyway. What does that mean? Does that mean they've created some amazing hull plating that makes it almost indestructible? Like you see Amos marveling at Mars technology, right? In this episode with Bobby's suit. Talking about, patching it with resins is making it weaker because this shit's so good to start with, and it's built out of Mars bones.
Honey buns.
But are they doing that to set up how frail and fragile even the best of their military technology is with the inners now that protomolecule stuff is on the board?
It seems like they do that foreshadowing really, really well.
Or is it a weapon? Is it the weapons on it that make it so powerful? Can it remake a ship?
Speed.
Or speed.
Maybe you can just effortlessly travel at whatever's kind of like the Aero station. There's so many things that it could be. I do wonder if like you're supposed to understand that the Laconians are keeping the best shit for themselves, because we see this protomolecule spaceship and it's not what they're building in orbit of their homeworld.
Not even close.
It's not even close. So it's like, yeah, like, you know, have this micro machine while we keep the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier to ourselves. I don't know. I think because that's the other. I know that is out there. Like, you know, what happens at the end of season 6 and you know, the Sol system sorted and then that fucker comes through the ring gate. Like, why would they even do that? There's not going to be 7, 8, and 9. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The Laconia thing is such a huge question mark, because I can see why they have to do it, because it obviously seems vital to this year's plot, but it's also clearly supposed to be so much more. And they're doing the strange dog stuff. It's, I don't know. Maybe this is a op on us all, and it's so Bezos can at the last second authorize season 7, 8, and 9 when everybody loses their mind at the end of this one. But yeah, man, it's a big question mark. The Laconian stuff, big question mark.
Apparently they have, if I listened correctly to the dialogue, for which I didn't have subtitles, this will be the 5th one of these that they have.
Yeah, I heard, I mean, clearly there's multiple, because they said if this performs like the others, I thought they said it will be fun. You said it'll be 5. It's very belter, very thick accent. It's hard to tell. We don't have subtitles on these screeners. But yeah, I'm curious to see what these things are all about. I wonder, is this from the book, like Marco getting reinforced with Laconian technology?
I think so. It's been a while. I don't remember, man.
This is your mildly interesting. I think so.
Yeah.
Like, how can I spoil anything? I don't know.
Right. How can I when I don't remember?
All right. Well, that's the end of the episode. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
Well, we will be back next week with episode 4. Of course, we're taking another 2-week break from feedback because this is another series that we've recorded in advance so we can get through the Christmas holiday break. And we will be back before episode 5 with another season 6, episode 3 and 4 roundup episode. If you want to get your thoughts, your theories, or speculation in, please send that in to expanse@baldmove.com and we will consider it 2 weeks from now. Thanks for listening to our show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, we'll be back next week. These episodes drop date and time, which usually means late Thursday evening. Because I think I just saw that they officially released these at midnight GMT, which is like 7 o'clock Eastern time. So they're dropping fairly. Yeah, they're dropping fairly. So that's where you can expect them. As soon as they come out, we'll have the podcast ready, and we'll see you next week for episode 4. Until then, I'm Aaron,
and I'm Jim.
See ya.